life and in this present.
Right. So guys, start. All right, so hello everybody. Today is February 12, 2022 to 12/2022. So many beautiful numbers, 2 yin and yang. We are moving in 2022 beautifully. Today is the month of February, number 2. So today's presenter is Dr. Paul and Anna. They are a great couple. They have beautiful children. And Dr. Paul studied at my uncle's school early 90s and went to China to study deepen knowledge of Chinese medicine. And he studied Qigong, Tai Chi, and he lived there, he breathed there, he ate there, he experienced Eastern lifestyle and Eastern medicine. He worked at the hospital in China. He has over 1,000 hours of clinical experience. He has he's been helping so many great patients. Some of them had heart stroke, and so many patients are seeking for his help. And Dr. Paul met Anna. She's a beautiful being. She was a reporter in a war zone. She experienced such a life-threatening life. And she came to the United States. She studied at the Columbia University. She holds a degree, and they met at the silent retreat for 10 days of silent retreat. And now they have 2 beautiful children. They have a thriving practice in both New York and Long Island. We are so grateful to have Dr. Paul and Anna. Thank you. Let's put the both hands together and meditate and sending a healing energy to everybody. Dan, could you go to the next slide and let's meditate, let's chant together. Namu Shinyo Ichi Nyoto To Toki Miho Tokeo Nenji Tate Matsuru Zangi Zange Rokkon Zaisho Metsujo Bonno Metsujo Gonsho Om Saraba Tatagyata Hanamana no Gyoromi. And let's reflect ourselves in yang energy. Are we balanced? Do we need to balance more? How can we balance? So today's presenters, Anna and Dr. Paul, will help us. All right, Paul, could you share your screen? Thank you.
Thank you, Kumiko. Thank you for this invitation and the wonderful introduction for both of us. I think I'll just offer one point of clarification, and that is Anna and I met at the end of a 10-day silent retreat. It wouldn't have been very silent if we were together the whole time, but it was the clarity from the retreat that really brought us together. And we both feel very blessed to be together and to be here today to share this with you. We've been largely absent from the world during the pandemic with our 2 children. And it is wonderful to have this invitation to come out and to share some of the things that are very dear to us. Eastern medicine, mindfulness and meditation, these are very dear to us. And these are, this is my vocation in life to not only did I go to China to learn all of these things to benefit my own well-being, but then at a certain critical mass, I was able to turn around and bring it back and share it with people here, which is really my calling in life. So today don't have a lot of time, so we are going to try to go through quite a few things. And we did think that this was going to be a presentation that was oriented towards people who were searching, people who were not necessarily on the path. So for those of you, from what I'm hearing, you're very steep. Many of you are deeply entrained in all of these traditions already. What I hope that this would provide you is another way of talking and organizing the material that would help you in your own communication with others. So we're going to offer a simple, Qigong meditation practice. We're going to talk about it as well. Then we're going to, as we talk about how meditation training works and how Eastern medicine works to prevent stress, not as this idea of stress maintenance, stress reduction, but how we can hold our minds with the wisdom from these ancient traditions in Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism that can help us to inoculate ourselves to stress, right?
There are a few disclaimers that we want to bring to your attention. Since our time is limited, the scope is relatively narrow. We're also highly limited by the language. The language of meditation has developed its own very particular nuanced meaning. And a lot of the concepts that we will be talking about are lacking adequate equivalents in English. One of the core examples that we will be referring back over and over again is the idea of a heart-mind, this unity of our being. Again, nothing of what we will say right now is new or revolutionary. Our real goal is to pique your interest in how to begin or continue a lifelong study as Kung Fu cultivators.
Yeah, in Chinese circles, the 修行者 is often translated as cultivators. You're cultivating your own heart and mind over time. And Kung Fu is translated, Chinese Kung Fu is really time spent in daily practice over a lifetime, right? To really cultivate your own heart and mind. So
at the core of our message is that our mind and body can be distinguished from one another, but they cannot be separated. And the implications of that is that there are two ways two paths how we can achieve well-being. One is to heal the body through the mind, and the reverse, to heal the mind through body.
Yes, this idea that this idea of holism, right? That Eastern medicine and Eastern traditions bring to us. It's embodied in the idea of the heart-mind, the mental part is not distinguished from the emotional part, and in addition to that, this idea of the mind and body being one. We can talk about them in different terms, and we'll say mind and body often during the lecture. But this is, and we're referring to a distinguishing between them, not a separation between them. It's a very different from the Western bifurcation of psychology and biology.
We specifically wanted to invoke a vaccine metaphor just because the vaccines have been front and center of our lives recently. We are not going into the discussions of whether you support them or not, whether we're not going to go into the politics of the current COVID-19 vaccine. What we want to focus your attention on is that the vaccines at the core of them intend to prevent and reduce the severity and sequela of infectious diseases. In a similar manner, the Eastern medicine work that includes meditation, cultivating your mind, or the body work through acupuncture, Shiatsu, or herbal medicine really help to prevent and reduce the severity and sequelae of stress.
So this is exactly where we are right now. So Eastern traditions and stress. So we can use these Eastern traditions to prevent the buildup of stress and prevent the dis-ease from manifesting in our bodies, which now in Western medicine circles, stress is seen as a factor in the, when using the word cause, it is seen as a cofactor in the manifestation of disease or the cause of disease. And so by preventing stress buildup, right, by bringing ourselves into a place of calm, present centeredness, right, we can, one, prevent diseases, and two, facilitate a state of well-being. And this state of well-being is not just internal, it's external. This state of well-being goes beyond, it goes into how we interact with our family members, how we interact with our community, in building a harmonious life for all of us. That personal, family, societal well-being.
So how can we vaccinate ourselves from stress? One step or one path is through self-cultivation, through meditation and mindfulness. And the second one is through body work, acupuncture, shiatsu, herbal medicine. Right now, we want to focus a little bit more on what it means to do self-cultivation. And here's the idea of constant centeredness or capacity is really helpful.
Yeah. If many of you have, if you've seen various depictions of the happy Buddha, right? The happy Buddha, something like this, right, is a Buddha with a big belly. We can't see the chat box at the moment, but does anybody know why the happy Buddha has a big belly? Right? Without having you jump in, I believe you if you know. The reason, it's actually a metaphor and a play on words in Chinese. So the word for belly is 肚子, 肚, and the word for capacity is 度, 度量. So Buddha has a big belly to stomach all the adversity and challenges and afflictions and suffering of the world, and remain with a smile on his face. That is the embodiment of the happy Buddha, having this great capacity. And there are many examples of this in Chinese culture, like a grand magistrate who's able to master many things in the political world and in his officialdom, is someone who can stomach a boat in his belly. 在向肚里能撑船. So it is in that spirit that the ancients have talked about this idea of constant centeredness, right? How that they can cultivate their heart mind in every moment so that they can remain in that state.
We talk about meditation as a tool by which you can watch your mind and calm you down. And this is a very simple message. However, we're by no means suggesting that it's easy. It is not an easy process. And through that, we invite you right now to try one of the methods of meditation, a guided body scan. I invite you to sit down or stand up in a comfortable position. If you would like to, you could lie down. However, the challenge is that you might fall asleep if you do not have sufficient training in doing so. As you find a comfortable position, you can either close your eyes or keep your eyes open. It does not matter either way. I invite you to feel the floor with your feet. If you can, place both of your feet on the floor and wiggle your toes. Lift yourself on the very toes and place yourself back down on the floor. And try to feel the roundness of your heels. Stretch your feet, spread your toes, and place your feet firmly on the ground. It might not look for your eyes that the shape has changed, but I would like to observe the changes in your body, how the intention of finding the roundness, the intention of stretch feels in your feet. Trace the lines from your feet up to your knees. If you're sitting, allow for your hands to fall onto your lap in a comfortable position. Maybe even squeeze your knees with your hands. If you're standing, I allow you to squeeze gently your knees, lifting your kneecaps up and then gently releasing them. And as you play with your kneecaps and your knees and your lap, I invite you to find the place of comfort, a place of no strain, where you're not forcing your knees to be in one position or the other, and they find this natural place where your legs support you in your position. Trace your attention all the way to your hips. Observe the shape of your belly. Is it tense? Is it relaxed? Can you expand your belly to the point where it will turn into an ocean, a bulging balloon in from your body? And as you do that, allow your belly to then assume a normal position. Feel the difference between those two. For those of you who have uterus, I encourage you to relax your uterus and see how it feels, how it affects the shape of your body, the shape of the belly. For others, I encourage you to find your pelvic floor. In a similar manner, try to tense it up or relax and observe how it affects the shape of your belly, the ease with which you can sit. I encourage you to find your shoulders. Lift your shoulders up to your shoulders and turn them out towards your back, allowing for your shoulder blades to slide down as if they want to slide all the way into your hips. By now, you probably already have experiences of itchiness or pangs of pain or discomfort that you want to brush away. And I encourage you to watch it the same way as you would watch an old friend coming in. This sensation is here, and we accept it. We do not push it away. We do not want to get rid of it. We just watch it. Where does it live? What's its quality? And as you watch those sensations, I invite you to watch your breath. Can you find how your breath fills your lungs? Does the breath touch the very back of your back? Can you find your breath under your armpits, in your collarbone, all the way at the bottom of your belly? Can you observe how the changes in your belly affect your breath? I encourage you to observe those subtle differences. Find your neck and gently move your head from side to side, allowing for a comfortable position where your head can exist on top of your spine without any effort. Again, some of you might experience the pain that is constant in your shoulders or at the bottom of your back, the lower back. I encourage you to watch that pain and allow sensations. I encourage you to leave those alone as well. Let them be. For both of them, observe their quality. See how they work. Find your tongue. Allow your tongue to spread out and become very soft in your mouth. Find your ears and make them very, very soft so that all sounds can come in, but nothing can offend. Allow your ears to take away sharpness from any sounds that might reach you. Find your eyes. Observe if you can find any tension around your eyes and see if you could relax them. If you could allow your eyes to become soft and gentle. For those of you who have kept your eyes open, allow for the gaze to gently, softly focus a few feet in front of you, where you're looking in front of you, but not really straining. For those of you who have kept your eyes closed, allow for your eyes to roll back and fall all the way into your heart. Observe your forehead, your temples. See if you can catch the moment when your muscles around your eyes and your forehead start to tense up. And as you observe that, allow for your muscles to relax. Find the very top of your head. And allow the very top of your head to open up and see if you can find the place, the exact point where you end and the universe begins. I invite you to scan your body again and observe if you can find how your body has changed in the last 8 minutes of our conversation. Is it exactly the same as it was before? Or did something change? We do not care if it changed. What we care about is whether you've noticed the difference. Allow yourself to take 3 deep breaths. And let us debrief. Kumiko, I wonder if we can enable chat, or if it's disabled, so that we can get some feedback from the group and see, how did you guys experience this, this work? Is there, was it interesting, difficult? If you can use an expression, a couple of words, we would appreciate that. Sense of unity. One of the core things often see in our work is that the meditation is seen as this process of sitting serenely in a place that is quiet, whereas meditation is really doing what you're doing while you're doing it. I went from feeling like dense parts of my one vibrational whole connected to everything, connection with the universe. Positive feedback. Some people find this work incredibly painful and difficult. But what sense of focused attention to the body, to the experience.
Yeah, and from what I'm reading in the chat box here, many people are well connected to themselves, whether they're new to this kinds of practice or they're seasoned practitioners, and we really appreciate that. And then when you have the opportunity to share this or share what you do with others, of course, we know that people might be struggling. They might be coming to you because they're suffering with the afflictions of their mind or their body, right? And so it's important that there's 2 things and that this Nina wrote is one of them, and it's the idea of accepting, right? So there's 2 parts. This is as I would say to this, the first part is the practice of focused attention. And that is, we can only begin to create a sense of peace in our minds if we engage in a method of practice that calms the mind down. And what is a mind that's not calm? It is a mind that's filled with scattered thoughts. It's being generated thoughts that are potentially deleterious to our well-being. We've been dragged by society. I live in New York City at times, so Times Square, all of these things that are pulling out, this kind of scatteredness. So this focused attention of bringing ourselves back to one thing, whether it's a sound, a mantra, the breath, we're bringing ourselves back. We're using what I would say is one thought to displace all the other thoughts. It's a very grounding experience, right? And so things like using a sound that you're listening to, right? Or a mantra, which is not only a sound, but it also creates a vibration through our bodies in which we can experience. Or the breath, right? Which is this very interesting way of being, or this interesting aspect of us that is both under our conscious control and our unconscious control. It's that place in between, right? Or as Anna just shared, the body scan, bringing your mind to the body. So this first part of what we're going to call this tool of developing your capacity to be present. But the second thing that Anna talked about, and as was written before, it's this idea of developing acceptance. If someone were to translate, what is true enlightenment, dare I say, they would translate it as accepting all things as they are. Being in that place where no matter what happens, there is a sense of peace, acceptance with that. Now, so these tools that integrate our body mind through activities which are kind of mind oriented and sort of self-cultivation can help us begin that process.
And one of the core things that we want to mention is that meditation, even a sit-in meditation, is a full bodily experience. There are, for some people, sit-in meditation or standing meditation might be challenging. So things such as yoga or Tai Chi or playing an instrument, work with art, drawing, that is also a form of moving meditation that helps one to develop capacity to be present here and now.
One last thing about Anna's meditation, because I see here that Natasha wrote about feeling more grounded and calm. What I thought was interesting about the way Anna taught the body scan is it different than I've experienced the body scan before, which starts from the head down, so to speak. In a sense, what Anna talks about a lot in her meditation is going up and out. And she starts with we start grounded, and then once we're grounded, then we move our energy up and out, because that is what's uplifting and let's say alleviates things like depression.
And we want to address several, if not misconceptions, but challenges with doing meditation. And we are always often asked, will the meditation hurt us? Is that something that I can do wrong? There's no really a wrong way of doing meditation, because meditation is doing what you're doing while you're doing it. So there's no wrong way of doing it. But meditation as the sole tool of your work on yourself, or to alleviate stress or pain from your body, might not always be appropriate, because there are severe affective disorders, serious anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive thoughts that might be very difficult to manage in a meditative practice.
Especially for someone beginning in meditation. So I think that the most important thing about this is, if you are someone suffering from these more severe conditions, going to, let's say, a meditation app and trying to learn meditation there may not be a wise choice. You really want to have a teacher who can guide you in an individualized way, through this process, and it's possibly in conjunction with psychiatrist or a psychotherapist. So yes, one needs to, as the name of our clinic, East West Integrated Wellness, we are not advocating that meditation be used for all things.
There are also times where even seasoned practitioners might find sit-in meditation very difficult to to fulfill, such as I could remember a number of times where I would feel in my previous work when I was doing human rights investigations, I would find myself so incredibly upset or distraught with the things that I would have seen that simply sitting through my emotions was not helpful. So that is where a move-in meditation or work through other forms of body work really helps. The other part is people who survived trauma or have had pretty serious experiences that were really threatening to them also might find doing sit-in meditation itself really challenging. This is where the work through the body might be very helpful. By seasoned meditators, I mean, I have more than 20 years of sit-in meditation experience. I find it very easy to sit through or stomach a lot of the situations. But even for me, at times, being faced with certain conditions is very difficult, and I find it very difficult to sit through them. So this is where I personally, and that's what we are discussing right now, the connection between mind and the body, we work with other forms. And this is where Paul will talk a little bit more about the treatments and specifically about the question, what do we mean, what it means when the body keeps the score.
So to share a little bit more about what Anna's talking about, yes, I mean, we can all, attempt at any time to use, our own self-cultivation, whatever form we choose, to manage the stress that we're going through. However, there are times when that stress exceeds our individual capacity, right? Let me give you an example. We have a 2-year-old that doesn't sleep well. And for months on end, Anna is not getting enough sleep. So maybe her body is in such a state that she needs external help to calm her body and to help her. And I will explain in a little bit about this, but to calm her body so that she can restore her sense of well-being. So through the body to the mind. That's one part of that. We're going to talk about the treatment in a moment. And the body keeps a score. It's actually a reference to a book that's being circulated or that's been published in the last few years and is getting a lot of attention. When the body keeps a score is the name of the book, and it's a book about from a psychiatrist in how psychological trauma is not out there somewhere, in the mind. It's embodied, right? The body embodies that trauma, and through treatment processes, as documented in his book, doing things like yoga, fascial stretching, and these kinds of mind-body integrating somato-emotional release therapies within psychology now, psychotherapy now, provide a pathway to well-being. That's EMDR, somato-emotional things like that. So that's where that refers to. Now, specifically about Eastern medicine, right? Eastern medicine employs various tools to going through the body to help return the body and mind, the body-mind, to a state of ease. These are treatments, and I just sort of emphasize that the difference between they're treatments and not therapies, like in let's say like psychotherapy or in like massage therapy maybe is a better situation, where so you go in for let's say a 90-minute massage, and the same person gets the massage from that therapist the same way every single time. That's a treatment is diagnostically driven. Everyone gets ill in an individual way, in a unique way, and treatments are individualized. And they're not just individualized to the person, they're individualized to the moment that person is in. So you may come in a particular way in that first session with going, say, with Kumiko and Shiatsu. She finds these things and she treats that, or I find things and I use acupuncture needles or manual therapy to treat them. The next time you come in, they're not there. So a different diagnosis is applied and different treatment is applied. And this goes through all these manual therapies used in Eastern medicine, like cupping, scraping, all these Oriental manual therapies, even Chinese herbal medicine. All of these have an impact on the body-mind. So why does this happen? Because Eastern and Western models of a human being are different. This is what really drew me to China. This idea that in Western traditions, we focus on the anatomical body. Western conventional medicine focuses on the anatomical body, what we can see and what we can measure. And that's the depiction here, the model on the left of my screen. And on the right, you'll see a depiction of a Eastern medicine model. And what you'll notice is that there is some reference to the anatomical body, but then there is an abstraction. And what that abstraction represents is a movement from being stuck on the physical to the experience, our experience of who we are as a body mind. Right? And one of the important systems that we are treating when we are working with patients is these things called meridians, which many of you know. Now, the meridians have their own pathway. And we can, if they go through the body in the way that they do. We just saw on the slide before that the gallbladder channel. And in the gallbladder channel, it doesn't have a straight line pathway. But I'll suggest to you that when you are stressed out, you experience your meridians like this in this slide, which is like this. Now, this slide is not an expensive electrogram of the energy fields. It's me doodling on an iPad. But I want to suggest to you, this is what your meridians feel like to yourself and to a practitioner when you come and you're really stressed out. And our purpose is what we do is in the next slide is we align those channels. We give you a sense of alignment, a sense of centeredness, a sense of north and south in your being. In Chinese, the word zheng qi is this upright qi. You feel that sense of well-being, grounded but uplifted. And this is what we're working on. And one of the reasons we can do this is because we have models that are different than in Western medicine. So in Western medicine, if I were to show you a model of the circulation system, right, as an idea of the physiology and the blood, how it goes and where it goes, that would be an anatomical based physiological. What I'm showing you right now is really a physiological model in an abstract system of Chinese medicine. And these circles, and part of the 5 elements, which I think many of you know, represent the organ systems, and these organ systems which have both a physical aspect, that is organ itself, the various tissues and sense organs they govern and they nourish, and a mental emotional aspect. And focusing on the liver, we see that the liver governs, nourishes the eyes, it nourishes the tendons and sinews in the body. And it responds and it modulates our anger, right? These basic things that it governs, in our body. And if we focus on the mental emotional aspect for a moment, then see that the liver really relates to anger and resentment in terms of that is its main emotion. So it regulates that anger. It needs to express itself when it's there in the right way, not be suppressed. But if it gets in excess, not only can it damage the liver itself and things along the liver channel, like for example, the liver channel runs through the reproductive organs, so it could cause problems for women gynecologically with PMS or painful menstruations or the absence of their menstruation. It can also affect other organ systems, as you see here. It could go to the spleen and stomach, and it could cause ulcerations in the stomach. It can cause bloating and being gassy. So what Chinese medicine can do, because it has this system, is it can insert needles, use manual therapy, give herbs that affect the body mind through and help to and help to address the both aspects, the whole of the body mind in its treatment.
And returning back to the topic of our conversation, Eastern medicine as a vaccine for stress, we wanted to highlight what is stress. Stress is a reaction to threat, a challenge, or a barrier. Something is not working out the way you want it. Something is not quite there. It's the distance between what you wish to have and what you have. Constant or chronic stress can alter memory, immune system, and metabolism. And in the Western medicine, chronic or severe stress has been recognized as a factor for disease, including mental illness. One of the core sources of self-inflicted stress, if you wish, is what we call as multitasking. And psychologists call this process as switching. When you do one thing and then you switch to the other, you were writing an email and a text message came in, or you were cooking a dinner and now you want to listen to the news. This process of of not completing something and switching to the other and then repeating back to the other thing is highly taxing to the brain. It is actually neurologically difficult for the brain to cope with. And what we want to say, especially through the process of meditation, you will start recognizing that a stress is a product of our own mental activity. And the conversations that we keep having in our heads about a difficult conversation, the fantasies about a revenge conversation, or you probably can give me myriads of examples where you involved in your own self-chatter while doing something else. That process is something that generates a really difficult neurological situation for our brain.
That in its essence is multitasking. You're doing something with your body with an intention of part of your mind to do something, yet your mind is going on and on with lots of other things like, I'm doing this, but I don't like doing this. Why are they making me do this? Or, oh, this is great. When I finish this, I'm going to have this, this, and this. Your mind is multitasking by generating lots of thoughts that are really unrelated to what you're doing. You're not present with what you're doing. So there can be external multitasking, like going to your Instagram, your Facebook Messenger, and and your email at the same time. That's external multitasking. But internal multitasking, which is the core of all our stress, and actually that takes us to our external multitasking, is this mental activity, this firing of mental activity that is just not letting us be in the moment.
And we want to recognize that some stress is been generated by real threats. Again, returning back to the question of survivors of abuse or victims of crimes or other quote unquote real threats that people lived through. The message that we're afraid that you might want to take out of from this is that the meditation is the solution to stress. And we want to focus that is not full truth of what we're saying.
Yeah, I think if a meditation is a good starting point to see if you can, for any of your stress management. Turning to Eastern medicine is also a great starting point to see if you can, to help you manage your stress and develop a practice to help you prevent the buildup of stress. But when you need the help of Western medicine, when you need the help of other caregivers, then you turn to them and they help you get back on the path, right? So what we recommend is really the middle way. So integrating East and West, but using wisdom and practicality guide your choices for for your care. But we will say that Eastern medicine in general does have an advantage for chronic disease and for stress prevention and management.
And that is again because a scattered mind does not exist in a relaxed body, and vice versa. A relaxed body does not contain stress-filled mind.
Yeah, that's the key message. Yeah. And this message has been passed down to us through the ages, here. And in Confucian circles, they talked about Zhongyong, which I've translated as constant-centeredness, but the earliest translation was the doctrine of the mean. And maybe others have seen things of constant neutrality. So it's a way of being in which it's a way of being that puts you in the, like these other things I'm going to say, puts you in the flow in which you are completely present, you're neutral, responding without emotions, and you're responding rather than reacting in some emotional way to something in a way that you don't understand why you're reacting emotionally to. You're just present and you respond in a perfect way. And an example of that, might be if you were practicing your meditation or you're practicing constant-centeredness and you're in the kitchen and you're doing something and your child comes along and then breaks your favorite teapot. Your response to that might be, oh, let me pick up the teapot, it's gone and it's okay. And you hug your child and express love, and she's already very upset, or he's very upset about the fact that this happened, and you express care. Whereas if you were multitasking and you were running around internally and externally doing all these things, and that happened, you might already be very agitated, and in that moment you might do something that's very hurtful towards your child, and you might come to regret. So it's this constant attention to bring it to this centeredness.
Before we'll address the questions that we coming into the chat box and go for other questions, I wanted to summarize and give you some practical tools for your daily practice. One of them is walking up and out. A lot of us, when we walk, we go down and inward. We don't want to be intruded by others. Whereas when you walk up and out, it opens your heart, it opens your perspective. And it grounds you a lot more than when you're going in, down and in. Spreading your feet, especially when you're dealing with something challenging, feeling your feet is something really helpful into grounding you. If you can, doing a body scan several times a day, just checking in to see, how does my belly feel? How does my back feel? How does my tongue feel? It doesn't have to be an involved meditation. It's just checking in. How am I doing? Do I feel the same way? Observing and counting breath also could be a helpful tool when you're not interfering with the breath, but you just watch it as a way to bring the focus to your being. And try to do a single focus in what you're doing. When you eat, you eat. You don't eat and read a newspaper. When you interact with someone, you interact with someone rather than plan for what you want to say next. And then we definitely recommend maintenance and self-care via Eastern medicine that would include various forms that would be appropriate for you with your conditions. The middle way.
So I think at this moment we can actually bring this to an end and see if you have any questions.
There's a question about the diabetes and the mental component of it.
Sure. What I'm thinking as I'm going through this is, this meta message for me, and of all of my time learning of these traditions, the most insightful thing for me was that all stress is generated by my own mind, and that both gives me dilemma and the empowerment to manage my own stress. So when I'm unable to do it on my own, I can look to others, because Eastern traditions, we're so grateful that there's Eastern traditions that help us to regain ourselves, through treatment, through care, through care with Shiatsu with Kumiko. I saw her many times during the pandemic to help get me back on track. And acupuncture, helping people through the pandemic with acupuncture, using acupuncture myself. These are ways in which we can help. But I always return to, no matter what it is, even if there's a kind of real external threat, my fear of dying is mentally generated stress. So that that really helps me to know that I can use these tools to bring greater harmony into my own being, into my family, my relationship with Anna, and with my children, and beyond, into my community. So learning to accept all things, and that all stress is my own. I think that's the message I wanted to share. So we do have some questions, or at least one question. So what would you say is the mental component behind diabetes? I don't think there's any one mental component. I would say that I have seen people with diabetes who are very stressed, right? And I think their stress is generated by a whole myriad of their own issues. So, if I'm working with someone, I would say, well, let's use that stress marker and use stress as a way in to address uncovering, their own their own particular issues. I'll give you an example, not in diabetes, but it was an autoimmune condition. The autoimmune condition was Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and that particular person, after not a long time of working with them, disclosed that they were going through a divorce, and that divorce was so painful for them because when they were a child, 13 years old, their parents got divorced, and said to this person, okay, now we're getting a divorce. You need to choose who you want to be with, your mom or your dad. And that was that particular person's sort of the source of that particular person's stress, and everyone's is different. So I would say that in any condition, I wouldn't say, diabetes in Chinese medicine is often related to the kidney, so therefore it must be fear versus anger. I can't. It's an individualized thing.
Maybe other people have other questions. If we have time, Kumiko, what do you say? We might use the voice.
Sure. Yes. Is there any questions or feedbacks?
There's a question.
It's great. Yes, Eva.
There's a question. When you say seasoned meditators, what do you mean?
I believe we've answered that, which is someone who has a long practice of self-cultivation. And what we're saying is that it's not a linear process. The fact that you might have meditated for years and years and years does not insulate you from being able to experience either emotions or challenges and need to switch to a different method. There's no shame in acknowledging we are human. Mm-hmm. And it's that recognition of, oh, this method doesn't work right now, so I'll switch to another method that would work. And we're blessed with the fact that we have multiple methods that help us to go through our challenges.
Yeah, I would just add, so someone else wants to raise a question, that a seasoned practitioner is someone who has a lot of experience and some degree of what we'll call, what I was told in my time in China, mastery of their own heart mind. So that's, if you have a certain degree of mastery, whether you meditated for only a few weeks or you meditated for decades, that degree of mastery is your level of being seasoned.
Do you want to comment on that? It's not a question per se, but the meditation exercises was wonderful for me, and that I have been experiencing the scatterness we've described, and I became present to the tightness in my head and neck, and through rotated opened up circulation and clarity. That's a comment from Mark.
Yeah, that's great. And that's exactly what all of us are doing. We get absorbed in the world around us. We lose touch with how we've embodied a stress. So then we take some time to ourselves. We actually build time for our own well-being. We check in. And I think what's really important to know, and Anna did touch on this, as you experience this discomfort. It's just, oh, I'm now experiencing this discomfort. And that awareness is the elixir. That awareness is the healing component. There's nothing you have to do. It's just, oh, I'm aware of this. And as you're aware of it, it changes, because nothing can hold and stay the same under the light of your awareness.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul. That's great. Thank you, Anna. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, trust in the goal.
Yeah.
These two belongs. Yes.
Right. Yes.
Well, it was really a pleasure to have this talk with everybody. We thank you so much for attending and giving us your time and giving us an opportunity to share.
Thank you, Kumiko, for hosting us.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your great share, clarity for everybody. And let's keep meditating. Let's taking care of ourselves, and let's feel good.
All right.
Thank
Be
you.
well, everyone. Be well.
And
Thank you, everyone. And
By the way, I just realized if anybody has any further questions, you certainly can reach out to us. Kumiko shares our information here. Yeah, just reach out to us. We'll be happy to connect with you about any other questions which you didn't feel comfortable sharing here.
yes, and you can also contact Anna and Paul through our fan page, and we invite you to support us with comments. And if you enjoyed the gathering, please leave us a review. And also, we invite you to support us, and we can support you. You can contact me through Facebook, through our fan page, and we can support each other with reviews, so to empowering each other. And see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. See you next Saturday. And Nini, you're gonna be talking about 5 elements, 5 transformations. So we're gonna go deeper into the 5 elements. Thank you, Paul, for sharing the 5 elements. That was beautiful slides. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. So Don, would you like to share the music? So everybody have a great weekend and stay safe and happy
Valentine's Day.
energy to everybody.
Yes.
Can you hear?
No.
We can hear now, yeah.
Dan, can you adjust the music sound from your computer? Yeah, thank you.
And also, if you'd like to stay to talk, and after we turn off the recording, you are welcome to stay.